Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode. I'm Tess Carletta, and I'm here with Jay Leigh, the coordinator of Home for the Holidays, a novella collection. Jay, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you today?
I'm so happy to be ending the day this way, is all I've got to say about the matter. So tell me, what is Home for the Holidays?
The idea of it was to do spread holiday cheer, but then replace cheer with queer. So I reached out to a bunch of friends that I knew in the author community who wrote across the spectrum of LGBTQI identities. And I said, how about we do a group release together of all fluffy, wonderful, low angst holiday novellas, and then we'll give them away to people.
Replacing cheer with queer is really clever. I like it a lot.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. So my next question is what made you want to put this collection together in the first place? But it just kind of sounded like that was something that you felt moved to do.
Yeah, I had been taking a couple marketing courses and, they talk about group promos and cross promos and box sets, and it all sounded a little clinical. And I was like, well, I've never been invited to a box set or an anthology, so why don't I just do it myself? And I have a huge group of people that I admire or look up to in the writing community. And so I just kind of started coming up with this idea of like, no, we can do this like just a friend group and hang out and reach out to people and invite them along. And everybody is working together amazing. So we've just been having a lot of fun with it.
I love that. I recognize some of the names of the people in the collection so far, but there are a bunch of people that I've just not interacted with before, so I'm really excited to dive into their work and get to know them a little bit better through that.
It's quite a motley group of people because I was close with probably about half or a little over half of the people. So like one is my former editor, one is a person I met through beta reading. Other people are on my street team and then later became authors. So I've kind of like, we've all either debuted together or are growing as authors together, and then they knew people and they reached out. So it's become a big group of friends all hanging out together writing queer love stories.
It's a collection about the holidays, and the holidays is literally meant to be spent with the people you love the most, so that the idea that you got to spend the process with a lot of people that you care about and like just together, that's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's great because like I find that we all tend to include the idea of found family because that seems to be a pillar of queer literature specifically.
Definitely.
So it's kind of become a quasi found family of authors who are all on the same journey together and writing in the same or adjacent spaces. And from there, our audiences are all kind of coming together at the same time that we're coming together and spreading all of the holiday queer.
Yeah. What's been your favorite part of working with all of these authors for the project?
I should say something, moving like, oh, experiences.
You can say whatever you want.
But honestly, like I threw everybody into a group chat together and sometimes it just kind of goes wild. And it's really great to pop in once in a while because we've got like 12 people all in the same group chat and somebody will randomly send something funny or say something funny. And then half an hour later, we have 45 messages deep and everybody's having a great time. And it's just been great to like it's not a serious thing. It's fun and everybody seems to be enjoying the process. And it's great to have all these people. We're all on the same track. We're all having a good time. And we end up having these hilarious moments in the group chat where it's like, we're not serious. We're not talking about logistics or marketing or algorithms or any of that. We're just having a good time.
I love that because then the marketing stuff and the logistical stuff, like that all comes naturally anyway when you all feel safe enough to be yourselves around each other and be creative around each other and just have a good time together.
And I think it comes from a place of authenticity when you do it that way instead of, ticking boxes on a marketing plan. You're all just kind of like, hey, I know this thing that we could do. And like, we're all like, yeah, let's do it that way. And then, somebody else is like, oh, I've heard of this, like how we met, one of the authors in the collective, you reached out to her and she was like, how about you talk to her? And then everybody's kind of like, yeah, let's just all do it. And it comes from a place of authenticity in that way.
Yeah, and everyone brings their own skill set and their own knowledge to the group. So, like, if someone can say, like, oh, I have this marketing thing that maybe someone else hasn't heard of, and then the group is all the more strong for it.
Exactly.
So, what would you say the most challenging part of putting together this type of collection is?
Probably the logistics. everybody's writing style is different. So some people write really fast, some people write really slow. Some people plot, some people don't. Some people, have large beta reading teams. Other people are waiting on editors. It's like just getting everybody on the same place at the same time. So we have like one person's doing our covers. So they needed to work first on their end because the covers need to be done first. And then another person in our group is doing the formatting. So then we need, proof copies done at a specific time. And then we all have to kind of hit our deadlines by specific points in the process. So just getting all those moving parts well oiled is a little bit of a challenge. We're doing it, but it can be a little bit of a challenge at times.
Are the novellas interconnected, like in location, or like are they interconnected in any way?
They are not interconnected. We wanted to keep that aspect of it a little simple, especially since we have a very diverse group of authors. So I figured, in knowing who I was reaching out to and how different they wrote in different subgenres or different pairings or relationship dynamics, I wanted it to be loose enough that they could feel comfortable joining. Kept it pretty basic, and the whole theme of it is finding a home for the holidays and then interpret at will. Because, we have non-binary, there's sapphic, there's Achillean, and we have different subgenres. So there's, different relationship dynamics.
A little bit of everything.
I think there's even an Omega verse.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have some Daddy Little writers. We have some authors are writing from Australia. So we have, Christmas in the summertime.
Oh, wow.
We have other authors who are writing from Europe. So we have those kind of traditions being involved. One of them is a pagan story. So it's Yule instead of Christmas. And then it just from there. So it's like, it's very loosely tied together in that, the size is the same, the romance standards are the same, and the general theme of the characters finding home for the holidays. And then each author interpreted it as they decided to. And from there, I believe a number of them are in shared worlds with that author's own backlist.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like it's a good intro to, like, if like you had said you weren't familiar with some of the names on the list. So somebody who, for instance, is coming to this collection through my worlds is now experiencing the worlds of other authors, and it might inspire them to look further into that person's work. And from there, everybody's kind of growing and coming together.
Yeah, especially like if someone's like, well, I want to read more from this person's world, and then they just sort of like take a chance on even like another novella in the collection, and next thing you know, they've read all, 12 novellas?
I believe there's 11.
11. Well, still, I'm kind of excited to sit down and read like one a day.
Right. And then we have the releases staggered out so that you can kind of like get the whole holiday experience leading up to the middle of December. And, we're visiting Australia, we're visiting parts of America, it's just all sorts of different, everybody's bringing their own flavor to it, which is a lot of fun.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever been into the Hallmark Channel, but like the Hallmark Channel will do like special movies leading up to the holidays, and the Hallmark Channel is all well and good, but it's very much like not welcoming to queer identities. And so I think that the collection will, at least for me, and I hope for other people as well, will like give them that same sense of like, oh, this is cozy and romantic and it's the holidays, without being like, oh, and it's a white dude and a white girl and everyone is white in the town except for like the best friend that they decide to make a person of color. I don't know, we could get into the Hallmark conventions. That's a whole nother episode topic.
Yeah,
but
that's why I love the Lifetime versions, because they're actually a little bit more like,
yes,
as much as they're all very cliche and so unbelievable and very over the top, I do have to say.
But the novella collection will be a much more reliable source of queer cheer for the holiday.
Exactly. And I think that one of our authors actually used that in his own marketing as like, it's Hallmark, but make it gay. And I loved that because it was kind of like tongue in cheek.
Oh, I love that. As someone who comes from a cozy queer background, I just love that. But I did want to ask you about your novella. I'd be remiss if I brought you on here and didn't ask you about your contribution to the collection. So can you tell me a little bit about Havoc for the Holidays?
Yes, Havoc for the Holidays. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more secular Christmas without all the there tends to be, family traditions that are rooted in, more Christian type things. So I wanted to break away from that and do more of a secular Christmas. And I thought the idea of having single dads and doing a ballet pageant for the Nutcracker would be a fun way of experiencing Christmas without it being too much about holiday traditions that not everyone might practice. That was like the seed of the story, was like, I want to do little kids doing a ballet pageant. And then I was like, that's going to be chaos. And that kind of bred the idea of havoc for the holidays. So it's just a bunch of crazy kids, and the love interests are the new dance instructor and one of the single fathers.
Oh, I love that.
And from there, chaos ensues.
I remember exactly where I was sitting when I saw the cover for the first time, and I was like, oh, I'm on board. I'm so on board. I'm sat. I'm ready to go.
There's always like with the dance angle, you have the whole like dance tights and trying to
Mm-hmm.
learn choreography, and there's masses of children running around. So like I had the concept of like one of the lead dancers bowed out, and so the dance instructor asked one of the fathers to step in, and he's like, but I don't dance. So that it was even more chaotic on top of it, because I just kind of wanted to be fun with it, because normally I write romantic suspense and it's all very angst and thriller and like chills and danger. And so I was like, no, I got to go like from a different angle for this if it's going to be holiday fluff. So I was like, let me just run with it. And it's kind of like a little bit comedic, but then of course some of my typical angst kind of slipped in there anyway. So
You know what though? But it can't be, and this is kind of like our whole thing on this podcast, is that you can't be cozy or at least have like a heartwarming story without just a little bit of rain and like conflict and angst in this case. Have you danced in the Nutcracker before?
no, but
This is just me being curious.
I was the chaotic ballerina when I was younger, because I didn't know left from right up until embarrassingly old age. So I was always the one freestyling it on the stage with my hat over my face, can't see anything. So it was that was the seed there, was like, yeah, I've been that chaotic toddler in a tutu. I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm. I have also been the chaotic toddler in a tutu, so I can picture the feeling very vividly.
Yes, you just put kids in costumes and give them props and it all goes to hell.
Yep. And you're like, no, do the choreography, and they don't remember. And they're looking around and they're running. Yeah. So to veer myself back on track here, what drives your storytelling? What motivates you to write? And what do you hope to accomplish with your stories?
Broadly across everything I write, I tend to find myself very organically exploring, the importance of mental health and the effect that mental health can have on relationships, whether they be romantic or platonic or familial. I find myself every time I'm sitting down to write a book, what does this character struggle with? And how does he learn to live with that, develop coping mechanisms for it, and also grow to be able to have healthy relationships? So it might be something like anxiety or depression or, low self-esteem, or even sometimes some of my books tackle larger issues like obsessive compulsive disorder or bipolar disorder or things like that. And, even the simpler ones like the novella, I couldn't go too in depth because you don't have much real estate to really like deep dive into somebody living with mental health issues. So I was like, he still ended up having a level of anxiety. I speak to like socioeconomic stuff a little, like probably a lot in most of my books. Some of them are political thrillers. So there's always an element of that. So in this particular novella, there was being a single father, being in a lower income bracket, and the struggles that the holidays can bring for people in a lower income bracket. There's just always something a little bit deeper. It's not just a boy meets boy, boy falls in love. There's always just something a little deeper as each character is going through their individual arc and the arc of the romance standard.
I'm sitting here, I'm like nodding along. I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I think that I love mental health themes as someone with a psychology background, but I also think like while you were talking, I'm already familiar with Valerie Gomez's work, and I know that she's in the collection, and I know that there's a lot of mental health themes in her work as well. So I think there's probably going to be like accidental themes that kind of go through different stories in the collection. And as a reader, I'm excited to make those connections and, I don't know, just experience that. But I'm looking forward to that.
I know a couple of the authors definitely, like Dallas Smith, she's a good friend of mine. She tends to handle a character living with a mental health issue in a very nuanced way, as does Valerie Gomez. And so there's like a lot of, it's still a novella. It's still light and fluffy for the holidays. It's going to leave you feeling warm and fuzzy at the end, but you're also experiencing deeper emotional aspects at the same time, which I'm a sucker for.
Yeah. What would you say is the number one thing you want readers to take away from your books?
When I'm writing, like I said, I tend to include a lot of mental health rep or even like invisible illness rep. I like when people are seen in books. So if somebody has anxiety, to accurately portray them and have a reader be able to see themselves in a book and see that, yes, you have a mental health issue, but you can still have a happily ever after, even if mental health issues never go away. Because, love doesn't heal all, and you still have mental health things that you will be dealing with, but you can still have a full, fulfilling life that includes love, friendship, family.
Absolutely.
I would say that's probably the aim of a lot of the authors in the collection too, is just, it is queer centric and they're all finding, like you said at the beginning, that Hallmark love story, but inclusive of all identities. So I think it's kind of the theme that's already there. It's just having readers be able to see themselves in stories and get those warm, fuzzy feelings at the end.
No, I can agree because a lot of the people who host this podcast are all cozy authors, and I think all of us would agree that one of the reasons that we do what we do is to promote that message that no matter who you are, no matter what your identity is, no matter what your background is, you still deserve a happy life. I love that. I love it so much.
Everyone gets a happily ever after.
Everyone gets a happily ever after. Do you have any advice for aspiring authors?
Oh, this was one I learned very early on. And I would tell anybody, whether they've written 20 books or they're just starting their first, read more than you write and make sure at least 25% of them are craft novels.
Craft as in like the classics? Or craft as in like the craft of writing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like story structure books or outlining if you're interested in that, or even marketing books. Because like I have my Kindle Unlimited right now is stacked with a bunch of marketing stuff because that's the latest hyperfixation. But before that, it was all about story structure and like the 5 pillars, or romancing the beat. Just to learn as many different versions of it as you can, because after a certain point of reading the same information over and over and over again, it becomes very intuitive.
Yeah.
Plus, reading within your own genre, you read for learning and then you read for immersion. And when you're learning story structure and then you read a book, you can see the story structure coming to life, and then you learn it, and then your own writing improves.
Yeah, I can agree. As someone who's done that, I can agree 1,000%. And I also think that reading within your genre is good because you never know what authors you're going to connect with by reading in your genre.
Mm-hmm.
That's how me and Valerie met. And I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for Valerie, so.
Yeah, I was on a beta reading Discord, which is how I met Dallas, because it was the only request for beta readers that I was interested in. And I had never met her before in my life. And I read her blurb and I said, I have to have it.
Yep.
So I beta read it. I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
And then I sent her a message. I was like, 10 out of 10, no notes. I love it. When is it publishing?
Oh, I love that.
And we've been friends ever since. It's like 2 years now that we've known each other.
Oh, I love that. Lastly, how can readers find you and best support you and your collection?
Well, the collection starts publishing on November 11th, and we have all 11 books scheduled out from there. But in addition to all of the releases, we're also putting together a giveaway that starts on November 4th, and you can enter a million different ways. And in entering, you have a chance to win either a paperback copy of have all the books signed by the authors or with book plates if they're international. And there's also a $25 Amazon gift card, and there's just lots of goodies. So if you follow one or all of the authors involved, you'll hear more about that. Yeah, we're all getting ready to spread the word about all these books and give people a chance to win a copy of them in real life.
Woohoo! And what is your Instagram handle for people to follow you?
My Instagram handle is JL_M, which is probably easier to find in the caption.
And I just want to thank you so much for your time and coming and sharing with me and our listeners about this wonderful project. I'm like sitting here with a little smile on my face. I'm all excited for the holiday queer cheer, and so thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to just spread the holiday queer.
Woohoo!